Mayor, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council to order for June 5th, 2014 at 8:02 p.m. On roll call, council members Coletti.
Here.
Dombrowski.
Here.
Martino.
Here.
Pettigano.
Here.
Bonsino.
Here.
Catamagna.
Here.
Mayor Mola.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will everyone please rise for a prayer and flag salute? Oh God, our Father, we ask you to bless our meeting which we trust to your fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and plant therein a keen sense of justice and a greater love for you and our neighbor. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will always please you and bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whereas Chapter 231, the Public Law of the State of New Jersey requires the commencement of each meeting as stated by the presiding officer, now therefore be advised, made requires of this meeting have been posted an annual notice in the Record of Hackensack and the Herald News of Woodland Park by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk as well as in a public place within the municipal building by notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 1, 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is being taped. It will be on Cablevision, Channel 77, Tuesday at 12 noon, Thursday at 4 p.m., Friday at 10 a.m., or it's on our website, www.elmwoodparknj.us. Thank you.
Mayor, this evening under the approval of minutes, we have the April 17th, 2014 regular meeting and the April 24th, 2014 work session.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pettigano. Any discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, council members Coletti.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Catamagna.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under first reading, we have Resolution R 184-14, introduce ordinance 14-16 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 7 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Traffic be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, June 19th, 2014 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter as same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
Motion, please. Mr. Martino, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dombrowski again. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Coletti.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Catamagna.
Yes.
Mayor, if I may, just for the public's edification, this
Yeah, I was
is,
going to do the same thing.
it's all yours.
If I may, this traffic ordinance that we're putting in, what we're doing is, this is the snow removal. We're going back to the old ordinance that we had where you park your car on one side of the street one day and where the sign says no parking on this side. That's the way we handle it. The way we did it for 15 years, we're going back there. We're going back to those old signs again. We tried something new. It hasn't worked. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
We've called the roll. Mayor, we have 5 ordinances tonight on second reading. Okay. Resolution R 185-14, introduce ordinance 14-11 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $209,000 for the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 15th, 2014, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $209,000 for the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
May I have a motion to open the public, please? Moved by Mr. Bonsino, second.
Second.
Mr. Dombrowski, any discussion? All in favor, opposed, so ordered. Anyone who wishes to comment on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public portion. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clerk,
Mayor will need a motion to adopt.
motion?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Coletti, Mr. Caramagna. Any discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, Councilmembers Coletti?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Pettigano?
Yes.
Monsino?
Yes.
Catamania?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 186-14, introduce ordinance 14-12 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled, a bond ordinance to authorize the rehabilitation of sanitary sewer pump station number 6 and the replacement and extension of sanitary sewer force mains in conjunction therewith by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park, the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,355,000 to pay the cost thereof, and to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 15th, 2014, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the rehabilitation and sanitary sewer pump station number 6, and that the replacement and extension of sanitary sewer force mains in conjunction therewithin, in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,355,000 to pay the cost thereof, and to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion, please, to open.
So moved.
Mr. Vocino, second.
Second.
Mr. Pettigano, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this ordinance? It's the money for the sewer station. If you do, please come up to the microphone. No one wants to speak on? I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion on the second reading, please?
So moved.
Mr. Coletti, second.
Second.
Mr. Vocino, discussion?
If I may,
Good.
FD.
Thank you. At the last meeting, I abstained when we introduced this bond ordinance because I had some outstanding questions in my mind regarding, I guess, the accountability for the project, the amount of uncertainty and contingency that was contained in the bond, and then also the opportunity to offset the costs with grants. And we met with the engineer at our last work meeting, and we reviewed the specifications. The specifications were really developed by our previous engineer, confirmed by our current engineer, and we discussed in detail to ensure that the design of the pump station will meet the specifications, that they confirm how the specifications were arrived at. And I think, and probably Councilman Coletti will talk about it a little bit, even seeing if the engineer in designing the pump station could achieve a little bit more margin over the current specifications. So I felt very comfortable with that dialogue. In addition, we explored the amount of uncertainty, contingency, and if you recall, if you were here or if you heard me, I think it amounted to about $400,000 worth of contingency fee, and the engineer agreed to remove about $15,000 from that fee. Another big part of that uncertainty was a difference in estimating between the previous engineer and the current engineer. I feel confident that the current estimate is based on actuals, so it's, I think I feel comfortable in terms of what that number is now. And we got a confirmation from the engineer that we're going to continue to explore grant opportunities to offset the cost of this project. So that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Coletti?
Yes, I do also have some concerns, as though my colleague, Councilman Vocino, have. And my main concern is that this facility and the pipe work in the street from A to Z, the area that is in concern, that the capacity is sufficient to deal with future volumes and increases in demands at no additional cost to this proposal. So until he gets back to me answering those questions, I will be abstaining on this issue.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor. First of all, we know that this pump has to be replaced. There's a need for it, because a few times we were embarrassed when we saw raw sewer on Market Street, across the street from the church. So for quite a few years, superintendents try to fix and repair, put a Band-Aid over and over again. And I know this is a need. Last time somebody mentioned this is the largest job that we pay for, which is $2,300,000 or something. It's not correct, because pump number 5 was higher than this, less work. Pump number 5 was $2,652,000, $654.51 altogether. This was, remember, price was lower than in 2000. The initiative 2006, and the job was done during 2007 to 2008. And the engineer was paid, Boswell, $396,201.92. And also, at the beginning, T&M was involved. They also got paid $5,033.50. So we have engineering cost over $400,000. So this was bigger job than what I say is the amount of the money was higher than than this pump number 6. And I think we need it. We need to pass this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Martino?
I think the last time I said, I will not make this kind of money in my lifetime. This is, for lack of a better word, an amount of money that our town has to do, we wish we wouldn't. I have to say the engineers, and we have to trust Scott, we have to trust everybody involved when they come to our meetings to say how necessary this is. For lack of a better word, I've lived here 21 years. Until about 2 years ago, I didn't even know there was a pump station there. So that's how uneducated I am about pump stations. But I do know that this amount of money is crazy, but to 1/3 of our town will be under sewage if this thing breaks. Those are what the experts said. I don't know that, but we have to go by what they say. And that's why I'm voting for this tonight.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are here or watching this on TV, you've heard about Pump Station 6 probably for the last 3 or 4 years. It's been a problem. It's constantly breaking down. There's been issues with this particular station, and over the years, as the neglect, or should I say, the overuse of it, it has put us into this situation. And I trust I trust our DPW director in his assessment. He had brought us, he brought each of us individually down to the pump station, to the inner workings of these stations, and I will tell you that it's pretty bad. He also brought us to our new pump station that we just completed about a year or so ago, and it's a night and day situation. In the pump station, it needs to be repaired. All the electronics are inside the containment basin. So when the containment basin fills up, it ruins all of the electronics, and we're actually, being charged for not having that done properly. So there is a major need for this to be done. Anybody who plays softball in the summer, how many times do you smell that raw sewerage there? It's because there's a problem with that pump station. So please understand, yes, this is a lot of money. This is probably one of the largest that we'll probably ever have to vote on. But it's very necessary. And both engineers' reports agree that this needs to be done. It's not just the new engineer or the old engineer. They both agree. Thank you.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Coletti,
Abstain?
Dombrowski,
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Catagano,
Yes.
Bonsino,
Yes.
Catamagno.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 187-14, introduce ordinance 14-13 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the 2014 road resurfacing program in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $599,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 15, 2014, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the 2014 road resurfacing program in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $599,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, and to authorize the issuance of bond anticipation of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading.
May I have a motion open to the public, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Martino, second. Mr. Caramagna, any discussion? All in favor, opposed? Ladies and gentlemen, anyone have a comment about the road program? Please come to the lectern. If not, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. May I have a motion on the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Mr. Coletti, second.
Second?
Mr. Dombrowski, any discussion?
If I may, Mayor?
Yep.
This resurfacing program this year is slightly higher than what we usually spend, but there's no surprise considering the severe winter we had. We did ask the town engineer to lower his fee, and he did accommodate us by a sum of $10,000. Mayor?
Not much, thank you. Any other comment? I would just like to indicate that we're doing the sewer and we're doing this. It's $2.3 million for the sewer and $600,000 for this. It's $3 million that we're doing tonight. Call a roll, please.
On roll call, council members Coletti?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Pettigano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
Yes.
Caramagna?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 188-14, introduce ordinance 14-14 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 5, Section 2-37 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Board of Recreation Commissioners. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, May 15th, 2014, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 5, Section 2-37 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Board of Recreation Commissioners pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
May I have a motion to open to the public, please? Mr. Caramagna, second. I'm sorry?
Second.
Second, Mr. Martino. Any discussion? All in favor, opposed, so ordered. Anyone who wishes to speak on the recreation ordinance, please come to the lectern.
Gentlemen, I feel underdressed. I apologize.
Give us your name and address, please.
Robert Burke, 32 14th Ave. Just a brief thing about the change to the commission. Back and forth, I am on the Board of Recreation. Currently the chairman, is pretty much by default. The thing is that the people that are on there are hardworking people. This is my second time around on the Board of Recreation. The first time, as been discussed, the ordinance or what we have always been considered, we just didn't realize, according to some, it's the quote, power that we have. That being said, that power, in my opinion, has never been really, never been used without the consent of the mayor and council, and I know that for a fact. I'm speaking. This being my second time around. The first time around, and I must humbly admit, that which was over probably 20 years that I did on the Board of Recreation. This group now that I joined, that I was appointed to, has done far more work than we did in that 20 years with everything that's going on. The rec building, floor, everything that's taking place. It's operating in the black, which was never. So all these things come into play. So the bottom line is, I'm trying to figure out, you know, what is this bringing out? I know I've talked to some members and all, but there's still, in some aspects, there still seems to be a political underlie with that. That being said, the bottom line is that why fix something that's not broke? And that's the bottom line. I understand what some people say. We hire everybody in summertime. We do it. We maintain the credibility of the board when it comes to nepotism. When it comes to there, it's all that. I think it's a good group of people that honestly feel like they're being, you know, slapped down. Which I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with them. Again, I'm new, this is my second time around. I'll be here a year and a half. I was appointed back with some reservation by some, and that's okay. That's not a big deal. So the thing is, my thing is why fix something that's not broken? You know, we just voted on some bonds that are, you know, over $3 million. You know, we have a small, you know, amount of money that we deal with. You know. You guys probably have bigger fish to fry than the Board of Recreation, as opposed to there's other boards that are the same way as the Board of Recreation, the same type of rules, and I really believe, not really knowing them, getting involved with them, not seeing them, that this group, the Board of Recreation, is doing a fine job as it is, and would continue to do the same job as it is. That's all I have, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Good evening, Miles Garvey, 98 Fensack Avenue, Elmwood Park. Sorry I'm a little late, I missed the beginning here. Just coming from work. With regard to this ordinance, I think it is totally unnecessary to change. As my fellow Board of Rec member stated, it's not broken, don't fix it. I know I'm being repetitive, but in the last 4 years, this board has been extremely responsible in spite of this blasphemous letter that was sent by the Democrats on this council to the members of the Cherry Hill area. Even they have come to our meetings and turned around what they said in this letter. And yet this is the impetus behind their move. Now at the last meeting they came to our Board of Rec and they said it's not political. One of the concerns they had was that our board could be politicized and they could basically determine whether we rehire our director or not. Well, when you have 5-year terms and you have Dems and Republicans both on the board working together as a team, the chances of that are really nil. We actually endorsed the rehiring of the director. Indeed, a number of years ago, unfortunately memories are short on this council, because when the Democrats were running for election a number of years ago, not too long ago, candidate Ngala, candidate Fava came to this very podium and demanded the removal of the director, the current director. And if they got in office, that would have been one of their first objectives. So for you to come to our meeting and say it is not political and that the chances of us politicizing the future of our director, to me is bizarre, just based on your own history of your own party. Pardon me, I have a little bit of laryngitis. I'm not feeling very well the last 4 or 5 days. So hopefully you can understand me clearly. If you can't, I certainly will repeat what I have to say. With regard to this ordinance, it is so unnecessary. it is so insulting to say that it is needed. Councilman Pettigano has been the leader in this change. He has been on this since he issued this unfortunate letter on council letterhead, which he admitted he shouldn't have. I only wish I had a chance to speak with, at that time, council candidate Martino and Dombrowski. And what I would have told them is, before you get into bed with these guys, look at their history. Look at the lawsuits that Councilman Caramagna was involved in with Mr. Truinsky, with past Councilman McLaughlin and others. And how was the turnout there? And how they dragged other people into it who were uninformed, who took their direction in supporting the allegations that they made during the campaign, because they'll just about say anything. The only difference was Mr. Coletti and Mr. Truinsky decided to take them to court. They did. They were vindicated, and Mr. Caramagna was not. So Mr. Martino, I have a lot of respect for you and your family, as you know I do. And I really put it on myself that I didn't reach out to you and warn you, because you ended up signing a letter that's illegal. And that maybe is a little bit of my fault, because I should have reached out, but I felt I shouldn't interfere. The first time this vote came around, you abstained. You were right to abstain. Second time you vote, apparently you supported it. I'm not sure. I don't think it's the right way to go. I still don't think you should, simply because you still are not informed on these gentlemen, what their motives are. It's strictly political. Purely political. I work in the community of Richfield as a broker manager of a real estate office. This year I put an application in with the Board of Recreation because they have an affair similar to our Community Day, but it's for the 3rd of July, not the 4th, because the 4th, they told me the fireworks would be too expensive on the 4th, so they have theirs on the 3rd. That's fine. I understand that. In these days of tight budgets, it makes sense to be a little frugal. Their event starts 5 o'clock in the evening and goes until the fireworks at 8:30. An application for me to put a table on that field and 2 chairs is $250. An application to put a table in Elmwood Park and get electricity on Community Day is $50. Why? Because we're doing a good job. We're running in the black. You have 70 communities in Bergen County. Overwhelming majority, some of them that you may have used as a template for this new ordinance, are running in the red. And yet, for no good reason, you want to change this, and you claim it's not political, and you claim, if anything, it's to protect the director. And yet your own candidates who ran here targeted the director for her removal. So I say tonight, if it's not political, will you all commit, if you vote to change this ordinance, will you commit to reappoint our director for another 5 years? Will you commit to not touch the plans on English Avenue and to get a shovel in the ground before we lose $80,000 of free money? Will you commit to follow through on the plans to renovate the hut, which is a safety hazard right now in its current condition, needing electrical work, needing a total revamping of the kitchen, needing the whole building basically to be redone, which we already have certified plans for. And we're ready to get going on that project, which will help us with our summer camp next year, which will help us with additional meeting rooms for the Boy Scouts and for the Girl Scouts and any other organization, including Bombers and baseball. Anybody wants to use it. It's open to the whole community, not just limited to a few. We have been a very fair board. We have helped with the soccer program. We have helped with the basketball program. We have put a new floor in our gym. We got new equipment. We had a membership of 15 people in our exercise gym. Now it's well over 100. We are in the process, we have redone, with the aid of the county, the senior kitchen. We have plans to redo the storage area to make it more effective. We have a hockey program, street hockey program that's really growing and developing. We're moving forward. You want to put a stop sign up. You want to make us an advisory. This past month alone, we had decisions that had to be made in a timely fashion. If we are an advisory board, there's going to be a delay between important decisions because it's going to have to come to the council. This is political. This is offensive. And if you fellas move forward with this, I think you're not doing a service to the town of Elmwood Park. We have done everything to help everybody in this community. We're not just looking out for the children. We're not just looking out for the seniors. We're not just looking out for all those in between. We're looking for everybody. And you guys are just, and then when I ask a very simple question, you know, if you look at Congress, and they put a committee together, and they're going to put legislation together, the committee usually, the majority of the committee would be the party in power, the minority of the committee would be the minority. So if the Republicans are in power in Congress, they'll have one more member than the Democrats. The Democrats are in power in the Senate, they'll have one more member than Congress. Yet, it is my understanding that two people on this council, the least experienced people on this council, put together this ordinance. They claim because I asked them, what template did you use, what other towns did you use? Oh, we use all of them. Oh, we put it together. And yet, did you ask Councilman Coletti? Did you ask Councilman Boncino, even though they would be in the minority, one or the other, to help you put this ordinance together? No. That right there clearly explains to me, and certainly to the taxpayers of this community, that this is a strong political move. You are strong-arming us. I think it's really despicable. I don't think it is in the best interest of this community. I do have a few things I do want to bring up. In Mr. Pettigano's letter and the candidate's letter last year, you made a lot of charges. Well, one of the interesting ones were, this week the Republicans and the Recreation Commission plan to conduct a rapid damage control over the situation they themselves created. This is a letter that Mr. Kazmar sent to me after my Oprah request from Mr. Pettigano. My question to you is, what rapid damage control were the Republicans doing?
You want me to answer that?
Yes, I do.
Immediately after that letter was out, we had the DPW, we had the police, we had everybody go up there to check and see what was going on.
Right after that letter, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. That was damage control?
2 days.
How was that damage control?
Well, we had to...
Excuse me. Let him respond.
I'm sorry.
Okay, before we have back and forth.
The park was a mess. Brush, broken trees, broken sidewalks. It was dangerous. When we exposed what was going on and our letter came out, got the DPW to go up there and clean the place up because you had to show the people around the park that you were doing your job. When in effect, I don't believe you were.
Who did that?
Who did?
You said somebody went up there to clean out the park. Who did it? Was that the Recreation
The
Commission?
DPW, I said that earlier in what I just said, okay? You didn't run up 2 days after this letter came out with the DPW, and they did a complete cleanup of the park, 2 days after. Because you knew it was a mess, you knew you had to clean it up, and we were putting your feet to the fire.
And when was this plan put together?
That's
And how
besides
did you
the point.
hear about this? How did you hear about this plan?
From the residents around the park.
No. How did you hear it was the Republicans?
Gentlemen, one at a time. I don't want back and forth, please.
When did I hear about your plan to clean up the park? After it was done, pretty much.
So
It was
my
done very
question is,
quickly.
are you clairvoyant? Because in this letter read out quite early, said that there was a plan to do rapid damage control. You know, Mr. Pettigan, I'm sorry.
You can pick
You
apart
cover this.
you can pick apart
Yes,
every
I will take
little
this
word in there
apart.
and
Gentlemen,
twist
please.
it however
Gentlemen,
you
please.
want. Okay, you can twist things.
Excuse me, Mr. Pettigan, if you're going to ask a question, let him answer it and go on to the next item. I don't want back and forth, two people arguing, because I think we're going to be doing that all night.
I've answered all these questions before, okay? You know my answers. You know what happened, and I'm not going to go through this again. I don't want to be yelling at anybody. I don't want to be yelling at you. But a lot of the things you're saying are inconsistent, and they're outright twisted. You're twisting our words. You're twisting what the letter's about. You're twisting every little word, okay?
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Can I
but
have to
this is...
respond to that, Mayor?
Yes.
First of all, the letter is what the letter is. And anybody who wants to see it can read it. I'm not twisting it. You wrote it. You signed it. You did it
Well, how am I-
inappropriately. Excuse me, Mayor.
Okay, one at a time, please.
You did it inappropriately on council letterhead.
I'm well aware
You
of
brought
that.
other candidates who were not aware, unfortunately for Joe and for Mr. Martino, under that same veil, which you shouldn't have. You should have known better. Okay? You're fortunate the election commission didn't take a strong view of this. The letter is what it is. You can say what you want to say about it. I have it here. Anybody can look at it. If one, I could send it to the community newspaper and publish it if you want. And the follow-up letter wasn't much better. But the bottom line is, this was proof that it was political. And I repeat, will you promise to give a 5-year extension
We will
to the director?
Excuse me, excuse me.
Wait a minute, wait.
I have a legal question.
Yeah, I'm controlling the meeting. I just want to ask. Are you polling the council?
Yes.
If the council wants to reply, they can. If the council chooses not to, they can't.
That's fine.
Mayor, excuse me. Since the director's not here and she wasn't priced, I don't think we should be talking about a contract.
Mr. Kazmark, has she been riced?
She was not riced for this meeting.
Then I recommend there be no discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be a promise to fulfill the current plans at English Avenue?
I don't think we have to promise, but, you know, the answer to that would be, we'd have to review it after the fact.
You've been reviewing it. It's been there since August. I don't know how much more time you need. We're going to lose the money, Councilman.
No, we're not.
This isn't
No,
about
we're not.
Democrats and Republicans.
No,
This
we're
is
not.
about the kids playing soccer on that field and playing hockey on that field.
Okay.
Please don't politicize this. You know, you made a comment at one of our meetings. You were concerned that the hockey rink could have nails popping out, and that was a concern. And the problem is you didn't know that the plan, that it was a fiberglass rink that has rivets, and there would never be that situation. And that's why I said that you guys jumped into this unqualified, not knowing what was going on. Mr. Pettigano attends 2 meetings in 10 years, and now he sits down and writes an ordinance. It's bizarre. If anything but political. And once again, getting back to the director, your own party came to this very podium and wanted to remove the director if they got in office. We have not had that discussion on our board, and our terms are 5 years, and we are, them as Republicans, over the years, and we have not had that conversation. So I think this is political. I see no other reason for it, and if you look at the advances in the last 4 years of this Board of Recreation, we have the electronic sign there, we have the brand new gym floor, we have the whole rec center painted, we have 2 grants on English Avenue, and some of the work had begun, all right? That's just, and the new gym, we had so many things that are positive in such a short period of time, and yet you want to change that, and that makes no sense. And the only reason it would make sense is if it was a political move. If we did something improper, as Mr. Pagano writes in this letter about irresponsible spending, I could agree with that. But the money that we spent on those parks was either from grant money or trust money and not property tax money as other towns have to pay. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Mr. Garvey, please stay there. A little correction that I want to make with you. You mentioned my name, that I was sued by Mr. Caleri. False. Mr. Caleri never sued me. He sued my wife, an innocent person who never gets involved in politics. That's what he did. 2, yes, Mr. Travinsky did sue us for some literature, and I went to see Richie. I said, Richie, if it was offensive, I'd be willing to apologize to you. Normally these things happen. See, I never sue anybody. I'm a man of honor. When I make a mistake, I want to see people. I don't go see a lawyer. I see you. As you know, once I came to see you when your wife publicly accused me of having an affair with somebody. And I said to you,
well,
listen, hold on a second, let me finish this up. I say people to your face.
Let's
I
not
said,
get
listen,
into that.
Do me a favor, talk to your wife, and don't say things like this. He said, I don't control my wife. I never sue anybody.
Well, I'll tell you.
I never sue anyone.
I'm not going to answer that. Because
Okay,
let's stay on topic.
Excuse me, sir, let me finish. Let me finish. You say something are political. I think you are political. We never offend anybody. We always praise you guys for your work. The only thing we're trying to do here is work together with the board to decide when you spend the money, we want to be involved because people in our town, you say that's totally not money for, 50% of those grants are taxpayers' money. Don't forget that. If they give 100,000, we have to put another 100,000. You know that, right?
Gentlemen,
it is a property tax, believe it or not. What is tax to you? Money, our money is tax. Now, I think what you're saying is a lot of things wrong. I don't know what you want to show on TV, but let me tell you, you really disappointed me a lot. Okay? I can say a few things in the past. I keep my mouth shut about you, so I keep quiet. The only thing I want you to know is you got those things, facts wrong, and before you say anything about who sued who or for what, you better read your book first. Anyhow, Mayor, I don't want to get excited. I just don't stop right here. And we don't want to.
Why don't we do this, gentlemen?
We don't want to. We don't want you to leave, to go anywhere. A few changes here. We want you to stay. You're doing a good job. Nobody says you do a lousy job. We want to be informed. Before you spend the money, we want to work together. That's the only thing, because you have all the power and we give the blame for spending the money. That's not fair. That's all I say. Thank you.
If I
Mayor, a
may,
very brief, just a brief.
just a brief, and if you want to get up later again, you can, but there seem to be some other people in this.
And that's fine. And the only thing that I wanted to say is, Mr. Caramagna, who never does anything wrong, who never says anything wrong, I don't really recall how many meetings he's been to at the rec in the last 10 years. Maybe he does, I don't know. I certainly have maybe seen him twice, maybe three times in 10 years, 12 meetings, basically, but basically, who never does anything wrong, but he did sign the letter on letterhead. Would you admit that was wrong?
Yeah, it was wrong.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Good evening, gentlemen. Bob Calvero, 18 Beach Street. I have to say Mr. Burke and Mr. Garvey pretty much covered a lot of the topics that I wanted to bring up, but I just want to touch on one or two things. One of the things that, as a recreation commissioner, we are volunteers. And a lot of what's gone on in the past couple of months has really dragged our names through the mud for no reason, A lot of us are volunteers in many organizations. Now there's some talk of, with this new ordinance and hearsays, about having coaches on the board as commissioners or advisors, however you want to terminology. I'm a volunteer. I've been a volunteer for over 20 years in many, many facets, many organizations in this town and through the state of New Jersey. I have to say that that's something that I take pride in. And as volunteers, and my fellow commissioners are volunteers as well, I think they deserve that shot as volunteers to do what they do and what we have done and what we've proved that has been a positive. And once again, Mr. Burke and Mr. Garvey said, if it ain't broke, why change it? Why fix it? It's working fine as it is. We've had so many positives over the years. My term has been very short. I've only been there 2 years. But prior to that, and leading into my 2-year term, we've had so many positive things go on with this rec commission. And the spending of money in grants, those grants go through you gentlemen. We don't make those decisions. We consider what's best. We take the approach, and we make the proposal to you. Who applies for those grants? You gentlemen do. We don't. We advise, as you're proposing, but we don't spend that money. We give you suggestions on things that need to be done. A lot of it's safety related. You know, Mr. Garvey touched on English Ave. Prior to me coming on the board, I looked at all these parks. Part of my duties as an officer with the Little League is safety, and safety first. I analyzed every field in this town, a baseball field. And I'll tell you, English Ave was a nightmare. I commend the previous board for what they did. And the monies that they spent, not foolishly, but wisely, to make that place a safe haven, regardless of who uses it. Now going forward, we apply for grants through you to make things better for the youth, and now we're being questioned on what we do and how we do it. My suggestion to you is if it's not broke, don't fix it. I just want to make one more comment on the staff of the recreation. Currently, Ms. Pugliese and her staff do a wonderful job. I interface with them on a personal and a professional level. I think those people deserve a fair shot to follow through what they're doing and for projects to come. To pass an ordinance and possibly have them and their livelihoods in jeopardy is unjust. And I think you really have to consider that. But once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak? How much time do we have?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you said that to me last time, take the change.
My wife just texted me, my father fell, he's not breathing.
Excuse me? He has
My
to
father
go.
just fell, he's
An emergency.
I got an emergency at home right now.
Yeah, Mr. Martino just got an email or a fax. His father has an emergency, so he has to leave. I hope he's okay.
Good luck, Steve.
He just fell, my wife's there.
Okay. Give me a call at home, if you get time. Mr. Conboy, unfortunately, you got 7 minutes.
I'm not even sure where to go either, I'm just...
You got 7 minutes?
It's not boring without me.
You got 7 minutes. We'll be told that he has to change the tape, then you can speak
Well, I did
again.
that last time. Are you pushing that button over there? I thought you missed me the most. I'm your scarecrow.
No, you can speak.
Tom Conboy, 135 to LA.
Tom, it's always been my position since I've been here that people can take as long as they want to speak. I have no 3-minute.
Except the Mission Story.
Excuse me? Well, I don't want to get into that, mister.
You're reading into my 7 minutes.
You're down to 5.
I'm not even sure where to begin. You guys have such a great, this is like Jeopardy. It's like a potpourri board here. You don't know where to start. I just want to, a couple of comments that were made. I wasn't even going to talk. I swear to God I wasn't. I really, just wanted to see what happened tonight. But a couple of things get said which force you to the podium. you know, and Frank, I don't want to fight with you, I really don't. And what just gets me, what I find funny sitting back there, is you and I together done a lot of great work on the Finance Committee. And I've always said that, regardless of I was sitting there and I'm standing here. We as a governing body, and I've served out of my 6 years, 5 with you. And I think we were always on finance together. I think when you were finance chair, I think I took over from you. So we finance every department here. I think the only one where we were handcuffed is with the library, if I'm not mistaken. The state has a formula, X amount of money has to go to them, and that's what it is. But we, as a governing body, you as a governing body, oversee every penny. If there's a department that's got their nose at a joint, hey, we're going to take it out of we're taking from your budget line. You're not going to get that budget line this year. So I find it funny when you say about controlling the money or spending the money. You guys, we were voted by the people of Elmwood Park to control that money. So when you say, well, we want to watch what you're doing and how you spend the money, it's you. I don't know how much money we've gotten. The mayor always keeps great statistics because there's always an election. How much we've gotten in grant money over these years, whether it was open space, road program, community development money, but especially the open space money that we use for recreation. As I've said before, we're one recreation. I've gone to those meetings, and the mayor's gone to them for a long time. I don't know, Frank, if you ever went to any of the open space meetings. At the table, there's usually only a handful, because only a handful of towns have reserves to even do it. That's the beauty of the trust account. And that's money that we have to give them anyway, so why go get some of it? We might as well get some of it back if we have the money to do it. And we've approved all those things together. Instead of talking about how bad some of these things are, or you don't like the way it looks, we should be saying to everybody, look what we're doing in our community, instead of tearing it down. You know, and you know, Glenn, I know you're not the fighting kind of guy, and I'm not going to argue with you. I really am not. I'm actually beat just like you, okay? I'm out of it too. But you say things aren't political, and you say nothing here you're doing tonight is political. From the moment you put your hand on that Bible when you first got elected, you came in right away about the recreation. I hadn't seen you at a recreation meeting. I can't remember some of you even saying if I've seen you at a recreation meeting. You know I've said that before, so it's nothing new. In all fairness, Mr. Martino has just left, and I hope his father as well. Prior to him becoming elected as a councilman, I've never seen him at a rec meeting, or even come to talk to a rec board members. Okay? I think since he's been elected, he went to go see Mr. Pugliese once. I could be wrong, but that was what I'm aware of. And what gets me is you mentioned here tonight about the Cherry Hill section. And I know Mr. Kaczmarek hates when I do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. You at a public meeting came, and this is not even up closest, this wasn't even written. At a public meeting that we had to go on the next round of open space, you all of a sudden, with the help of, you were with the councilman at the time, candidate Dombrowski, you guys went to Cherry Hill, you found what you believed to be drug paraphernalia and all this stuff, and you went around, you delivered stuff to all the residents. Not once did you call me and say, you're a liaison to recreation, what's going on? You never called former Councilman Castiglia and said, what's going on with DPW? Why aren't they been up there? What's happening? You dropped it all here on all of us. You held up bags of what you believed to be drugs. You didn't contact the police. You contacted nobody in the authorities. I even asked you. To this day, did you ever turn any of that stuff over to the police department?
It went right in the garbage.
Right in the garbage. So you were in possession of illegal drugs. You threw them out.
I was picking up litter.
Picking up litter. Not once did you ever ask what's happening at the recreation. Not once. Even as an elected councilman for the time we served together, did you ever come to a rec meeting. Then you get us at this meeting, you hand up all this stuff.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mayor. You hold up all this stuff, and what did I do? Do you remember what I did? Right after that, right the next day after that meeting? Do you remember what I did?
You went up to Cherry Hill Park.
Tell us.
I did?
Tell me then.
And you have a very short memory. I sent an email out to every member of the governing body. And I copied the police chief, I copied Ms. Pugliese, I copied rec commissioners, the chair, I copied everyone in this governing body. Every one of you. And I said I did schedule a meeting.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You schedule a meeting, remember that. We're going to have to take a short break. Call the meeting back to order. Mr. Conboy, if you could
Thank you, Mayor.
continue.
I sent out
Excuse me.
an email. An email was sent to everybody.
By the way, that's my knuckles. I do not have a gavel. I've never had a gavel. I broke it once, and all these years I don't use a gavel, and I just appreciate the audience, that when we ask for quiet, they do that. So.
Should be mine. I used to cut crabs. And one day I used to kill crabs.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Tom.
That's okay. So I sent out an email copying the police chief, the department heads that need to be involved, as well as the whole entire governing body, and asking, and the clerk, about having a meeting to discuss the items that you brought forward at that public meeting, which you surprised on everybody. You never once said, Tom, I need to talk to you. Even when you were at Cherry Hill Park, you didn't call the police and say, hey, I think we have drugs here. So you come get these? So instead you took them home with you. I don't know about that, but you took them home. So the meeting was called. If I'm not mistaken, some of the department heads, at least one, was unavailable to make the meetings. I even warned everybody in the email, please be careful, we all can't attend because we can't have a quorum, it's not publicized, and so forth, and everything else. So I kept everybody informed. I reached out to the police immediately, because you didn't. I reached out to the police immediately. Or did you contact Mr. Voncino to call, he's the liaison, to call the chief. I called the chief. I said, are you aware of what's going on? At which I first asked him, if I remember. If you remember, Lou, I asked you first.
I was in Alabama.
That's right. I asked you to take your son to Alabama. I asked you, do you mind if I call the police chief, your liaison? He said, please, go right ahead. Chief knew nothing about it. So the meeting took place. So there was some time that elapsed. It wasn't the next day. It wasn't the next week. Time elapsed. At that meeting, we came up with a full agenda of our plan to attack what concerns were of Cherry Hill, which had already been discussed for some time with the Rec Commission and with the current chief, the chief at the time, because all the vandalism was going on to the playground equipment, lighting it on fire, completely. DPW could tell you how many times I've gone up there to paint it and fix it and do something else. So, and I don't. This is, we could sit here and try to point fingers, but I'm not going to blame anybody that maintains that park. We have a great DPW. They do the best job they possibly can with the resources they have. Probably in the real world, and all of you know what I'm saying is true, they probably need about another 5 guys down there. But I'll tell you something. I sat in on that contract negotiation. It was the last thing I did in office. Those 2 men who represented that department down there are all about this town. They didn't come to that table selfish. They didn't come to that table. They realized about the cap. It was unbelievable. Bob, you were there with me. I even saw those 2 guys we met with at a union function a month later. They said, wow, you guys are a class act in Elmwood Park. And I told those 2 union leaders, yeah, we're lucky. We have a great DPW. So I'm not going to stand here and find fault in our department head. And there's a lot of people, Mr. Clerk ain't going to like it, but we were all stunned by what happened immediately right after that meeting. Nobody told the DPW to run up to Cherry Hill. I actually received a phone call from the department head. Everybody knows that department head. That department head wears his heart for this town on this sleeve, right here. And the poor guy even lost part of his hearing jumping into a hole with water as a department head. Most department heads say, hey, get in that hole, new guy. Not him. He takes the charge with his men. So he took it upon himself. Even the clerk said to me, and he hates I do this, do you know he's up there? He's like, I don't know. I don't know why he's high. That wasn't part of the plan. We talked about lights. The chief was looking into security, everything else. We were going to come together, for the council, as well as what the rec was going on. That's what happened. And if you want to find fault and say it was a thing to say to Cherry Hill people, I never, nor did the clerk, nor did the mayor. Matter of fact, the mayor, if I'm not mistaken, popped in and out of the meeting, but couldn't stay because we would have a quorum. So I praise Mr. Cars for going up there. And we agree, he took his whole resources up there. But again, a man who cares about this town. So if you want to call that his blitzing the park, then you know what, I'll take Scott Cars any day of the week in that DPW department. And that's why I come to the conclusion, I already came to the conclusion already, and I wasn't going to talk tonight, but some of the things you guys said are just so wrong. Throughout every time that this scenario has happened, there's been nothing but an attack on the rec. An attack on the recreation every time in this scenario. From everything that's happened down there, from campaigns, she doesn't have certification, we should get rid of her. One meeting, right where Joe's sitting, I had to hold up her certificate from the stage, from the podium, dais, to prove that she had the certification. Always coming from that side of the aisle. Okay, to me, I'm sorry. This is about getting even for if you had a quabble, if you didn't like the way, God help us, and I said this too, sitting up there. I was shocked to learn, since we've instituted the fingerprinting program, that in this community, we've had more than over a dozen. For whatever reason, they could be wonderful people. Something stupid they did when they were young. A lot of them have gone and expunged, did whatever they had to do in their back coaching today. But that was good for our people. So maybe somebody had a qualm with that. That's what I think has to do with this as well. Maybe somebody has a qualm because they didn't get a field when they wanted it. Because God forbid another bunch of kids get a field time over somebody else because you didn't get your way. Maybe somebody get their way or got their nose out of joint because the Rec Commission asked you to be a little accountable. And ask them and show them some things of what you handled and where it went and where it's going and how it was spent and where is it today. This is all something else. It's not because of what you think we're not controlling, the rec board was controlling or not controlling. Because it's been said already by a number of people. You control every penny. Thank you for listening. Happy Father's Day to all of you.
Me too.
Anyone else who wishes to speak?
Can I just say something, Mayor?
Let me finish the...
Okay, sorry.
Okay. All right, if you want. Hold on. Anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, I'll close the public portion. Mr. Pedigano, if you want to comment. You want to do it now?
It's going to be very short, Mayor.
Let me do committee report.
Sure.
I'll start with you.
Okay.
Hold on, before you do committee, we have to pass the resolution.
I'm sorry, we have a whole consent resolution, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Jumping over it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, actually, can we take a motion on the ordinance before we reach discussion? Sure.
Well, no, if he wants to comment before we vote on the
No, I
ordinance.
just want to set one thing straight. This is said to be political. This is far from political. Back in February of last year, we had this ordinance put in front of us as a mayor and council. When I saw it, and I saw the passage that was deleted back in 1969, which we had to put back into the ordinance because it wasn't complete and it wasn't official, I don't think. I'm not sure about that. When I saw the passage that had to be put back in, I decided that this wasn't a fit for our community. There was good reason in 69 or 68 that they removed this passage. The passage said that the rec commissioners can lease and purchase property, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we need an entity like that. We have mayor and council to make those decisions. So to make this complete, we had to insert it. But if I didn't want it in, I had no choice but to say, well, let's go to an advisory board. An advisory board will continue, if they decide to, they can be as strong as they want to be in the future. Removing this ordinance doesn't make them different. They keep saying they're going to be different. They're not going to be different. They're still going to have a lot of input. They're still going to have everything to say. They're going to help the director.
Mr. Pedigano, may I interrupt you?
Yes.
May I call for a motion on the ordinance, then you can speak on it, and it'll be in the proper order when it's on the agenda.
In discussion.
Okay. May I have a motion on the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dombrowski, second by Mr. Catamagna. Any discussion? Mr. Pedigano, if you want to continue.
So when I'm told that this is political, I am taken aback by that. When I did not search this out, I did not go looking for this to tear apart. I did not do this because I don't like anybody. And the letter has little to do with why I want to change this. That is a whole separate issue, Cherry Hill Park. This is the issue. The issue is we don't want this ordinance in our town. We feel that it is not a fit. And I'm not going to see, I remember last year, I'm not 100% sure, but we were, it was put in front of us that the commissioners were going to lease the Borough Field to the Little League. That's not true? Well, I remember that that was put in front of us. Am I?
If I recall, there was some discussion, and I said, how can you lease it?
Well, it was only a discussion because we couldn't go forward with it.
No, it was only a discussion at a Board of Rec meeting, I
It was a
believe.
suggestion that.
And I told them immediately they can't do that.
Well, we told them immediately they couldn't do it. But that was, there we are with leasing, purchasing, I'm sorry. We can't go in that direction. So that's why I'm going to vote yes on this ordinance. I feel these people can still do their job just the same as they did before. And I'm sorry if they're looking at this as political, because it is not. This is business. This is managerial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Coletti?
Before the dismantling of the Rec Commission, the trustees would make those trust fund spending decisions with the consent of the mayor and council. With the consent of the mayor and council. And it has worked for decades. The caveat the council always had at their disposal was if the rec board appeared to be spending recklessly, the council could simply disapprove the rec's next year budget. So that was always hovering over them, not that it ever had to be introduced. Subsequently, rendering the board without the resources to run its day-to-day operations. There lies the checks and the balances of the Rec Commission and the council. What we now have with this committee versus the commission, all decisions will be made by councils of the future, present company accepted, that will be politically charged, could be politically charged. The commission was designed to avoid that, keep the power in the hands of the rec under the auspices of the mayor and council. Now they will control the future hiring, firing of rec employees, and control the rec trust fund. I say, let the people who know the nuts and bolts of the rec department and who have evolved from sports and administrative backgrounds and positions have the power to hire and fire and control the trust fund with the mayor and council's consent. With the mayor and council's consent. We heard that over and over tonight. I hope it sticks. Keep politics out of it. And one last note. Throughout all these proceedings regarding the commission versus the committee, there hasn't been one person from the public who has come up and stood up for the change. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Catamagna?
Catamagna, do you want me to say something?
Excuse me, Mayor. I'd like to just show you something real quick.
Oh. Go ahead, Frank.
Do you want to say something? As I said before, this is another, we don't want to change the people who are running what a commissioner. We just, they can say, the only thing we want to do is, when they spend money, I want them to consult with us. We want to be part of the spending money. That's all I've been saying over and over again. No one says they did a lousy job. I think they've been doing a good job. I'm very proud of that. What is the difference now? Because the way, I remember this thing that you guys could spend and hire and fire anybody you want to. Only happened 2 years ago. Before it wasn't like that. Remember that the mayor used to appoint people with the consent of the council. Now it's no longer this way. That's why I said, what happened? This law that you guys practice now was, I think, done in 1969. And I guess 2 years ago, somebody said, whoa, hold on a second. We don't have to go to the mayor council. We can do this ourselves. We don't want the power. We want to work with you. It's not a matter of politics. What are we going to gain out of this? Somebody said, you've never been to the meetings. Keep in mind, I'm the one who introduced the SAGA program in this town. Guys, you forget, I'm the first one. I'm the one who solicits the money. I'm the one who got sponsors. I'm the one who is successful with SAGA today. Nobody recognizes, Frank, thank you for that. To go to your meetings, I've been there a few times. What do you want me to discuss? You know, I've been to see Donna, I see Romano many times, talk to them about things. I'm involved because I don't go to the meetings and I go to offend the people in public, minimize the ability. You're not a good councilman, you're not qualified for the job. This is ridiculous. You should not talk like that. You should have a respect for each one of us. If you have something, keep in your mind. If you think you're lousy council people, keep it in your mind. Don't go public, offend people. That's not fair. Guys, let's wake up. Instead of coming here and fight us, work together. This is not political for me anyhow. And suing, I don't believe in suing anybody. If I make a mistake, I'm man enough to apologize. Innocent person was just my wife. She never gets involved in politics. She gets sued. So what? That's the American law. We have to follow that. Other people try to sue, but we solve that. There's no problem. Sometimes we do exaggerate in the literature. And I admit that, you know. Sometimes we say things we don't really want to say. It happens. But we don't mean to offend anybody. And when we are in the council here, we all work together. We have a discussion, disagreement, but we want to work together. We're not here to fight. We don't get paid. We do this because we care. So guys, don't take this the wrong way. We don't want to see you out. I ask you to stay. This could be a workout. There's no problem. Okay? You want to see me at your meetings? I'll be there. Now I'm retired. I got the time to come to all the meetings. Before, I was a full-time teacher. Anyhow, guys, Mayor, that's all I have to say for them.
Thank you. Mr. Dombrowski.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, first, you cannot, we introduced this ordinance because currently we're under state statute. And there's things in the state statute that are good, there's things in the state statute that aren't good, but you can't have both. So we wrote an ordinance based upon what we felt was the right thing for the community. I've asked the board, the rec board members is there anything in this ordinance that you think is not good for the children? And I didn't get an answer for that. There's nothing in this ordinance that is not healthy for our children or good for our children. And the other thing is I understand the people that you hear speaking are all board members of the recreation. And I understand they're very passionate about what they do and the things that they've accomplished and so on and so forth. With the exception of Mr. Conboy, there hasn't been an ordinary citizen getting up there speaking on behalf saying that this is a bad thing. So, and there's been an awful lot of time that has gone by from the beginning of this to now, today being the passage of it, that if this was so bad, there would have been an uproar with the community. So as you hear tonight, the passion coming from the rec board, I understand it. Okay, I understand it completely. But again, the passion isn't. There's nothing in this ordinance that is bad for the community. There's nothing in this ordinance that's bad for the children, and that's why I'll be voting yes tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Boncino.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. In my tenure on council, there's never been a time where I felt out of the loop in terms of significant decisions being made by the Rec Commission, Rec Director. Any significant project was completely and openly discussed at a council meeting where we thoroughly vetted it, and I always felt comfortable when we were going to pursue an open space grant. It was never where I felt at a disadvantage. And I think I attribute a lot of that over my years on council. We had a very good liaison between the council, governing body, and the Rec Commission, and we had an open dialogue with both boards and the Rec Director. This ordinance, and it was presented to the council, and as I stated when it was introduced, the state statute has some 29 sections. This ordinance has about 3 sections. In fact, when it was presented to us, Councilman Caramagna told me, don't worry, it'll only take about 10 minutes to read. And he was right. It took about 10 minutes to read. The ordinance takes a commission of hardworking folks, and we heard some of the commissioners describe some of the progress that has been made over the years. It takes that, essentially what the ordinance does, it takes the Rec Commission and in a matter of a vote tonight will make them irrelevant. No matter what you say, they become irrelevant. And that is what the point of this new ordinance is to make that group of hardworking residents irrelevant. And you look at the ordinance, it was hastily drafted. It's obvious not a lot of thought went into it, and there was no open dialogue between this governing body, the Rec Commission, the Rec Director, in an open fashion. I heard there were conversations at diners, I heard there was conversations on the telephone, but there was no open dialogue about an ordinance that will affect the residents of Elmwood Park. When you look at it, it's completely to make the commission irrelevant and move control of money and personnel in that department to control of the governing body and whoever has the majority. In my mind, when you hear money, control, and shifting of power, there's an ulterior motive out there somewhere. May not be next week, it may not be next month, but it's there. And I can't get beyond that fact, and I cannot support this ordinance the way it's currently drafted. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. May I make some comments on this? It was asked how the council is going to vote on the director, and I kind of disagree with the attorney on that, but I'm not going to question that. My concern is the new ordinance says that the Parks Director shall be appointed with the advice and consent of the council, and a term of office of the director shall be 5 years or at the pleasure of the mayor and council. This is not civil service. Her position is not a civil service job. It's at the pleasure of this council. Doesn't mean that she can be brought up on charges. Doesn't mean that she could say, we can say she did this wrong, that wrong. They can just fire her. At the last meeting, I said that should be taken out at the pleasure of the council. If she's doing something wrong, warn her, bring her in. Don't just fire her. That can be done. That can be done. They should look at reappointing her now and not let her term lapse and then possibly not reappoint her in a year or so. Of course, her term is up in a year and 4 months or 5 months. I mentioned before that we've gone around. I agree with Mr. Boncino. We've never really sat down for various reasons with the board, the commissioners now, and the council, review it. We've had discussions back and forth. They're angry, we're angry, we don't want to meet with them. Let's meet. Let's meet. Come to a decision. Find out what's going on. They do have to come to us to spend any of the money that goes to the trust fund. We have approved that. We approve all the people who are hired in the summer recreation program, council. You know, so that is something that we should do and not just say, listen, we're not going to do any of that. Because quite frankly, we haven't talked to the director to see if she would take the job. That should be all ironed out by now. I think she will, but we've never talked to her. We talked about salary. We want to determine how many people were hired and they got $10,000 more than was allocated. Starting salary was supposed to be $21,000, $22,000. We paid the young man who has dual certification and a college degree, they paid him $30,000. Well, this council this year saw the reason for that. And when they signed the white-collar agreement, the contract, the starting salary is now $27,500. So, you know, what they did on the Board of Rec was not that unusual. They thought that the person was well qualified for that job. And this council now feels if you want good qualified people, they have to pay them a little bit more. And also on that one person, took the position of two different people. Two people retired for $120,000 when we appointed somebody for $30,000. I'll take that salary anytime. So let's not talk about things like that they're doing things that are irrational. I think it's a situation where half the ordinance today has a code of conduct. The Board of Recreation always had a board of conduct. So half the ordinance says that what they're doing down there now is good. Conduct on the field. So I think we should look at this whole ordinance over again, meet with the commissioners, come up with some type of agreement, and they have. I have to say this. This council, who wants to change the ordinance, has said the Board of Commissioners are good. We're going to reappoint all of them. I don't know. What's the ordinance about? I thought they weren't doing a good job. I had some questions. I always have questions. There are certain things that they do that I disagree with, but they're there every day. And we can work those things out. How much money they spend when they go to open space, we can work that out. Put a limit on it. They can only spend $50,000, $30,000, $20,000, $10,000, matching funds. However, I'd like to go to a bank and say I want to deposit $100,000 and can I get $100,000 from the bank to cover it? That's a good deal, whatever they do. And it's money that they've earned, okay? So I think we should meet with the Board of Trustees again, talk to them, come up with some good suggestions, get all the facts ironed out, not yelling at each other. And I also think that when this is done, we'll have an amicable board and an amicable council. They will get together and they will work together. There was even some discussion, we have too many coaches on. Okay, if you have too many coaches on, why are we putting all these people back on again? And some of the people that are on the commissioners will be on for 5 years. It's a 5-year term. They were appointed this year. They got 4.5 more years to go. Before, and then the new appointments are for 3 years, and it can only go for 3 years, another term for 3 years, and then they have to get off. That's going to be a problem. Because when you put somebody on a Board of Rec, or any board, you're putting somebody on that's pretty capable, and after 6 years, you're telling them off. And then what are you going to do? Put them back on again and kick somebody else off the next time around? It's going to be difficult. These are people who work for the town, and it's hard to say, you're doing a lousy job, you're getting off. I'm going to tell everybody right here that if this ordinance is passed, Brenda Hoffman's term is up next year. I'm going to reappoint her. They have to vote on her. I hope they vote to approve her. And guess what? A couple of years later, the same thing's going to happen. Good people, they're going to approve them again. So I think most of this could have been worked out, the finances and everything else. I had this discussion with some of the people on the council, trying to work it out. You know, I think some of the stuff has been worked out, keeping the commissioners. I think, and I hope the commissioners all stay on. I don't think they're looking for the power. I think they all stay on. I hope they do. But it's going to be interesting when they come back to the council and say, this is what we're advising you, and the council says, we don't care, we're not doing it. That's going to be tough.
It's not true.
The council over the years, and I can blame them, has agreed with the board. They've said yes to all their expenditures. Except one, I think they wanted us to expend money, the board of commissioners wanted us to expend money to fix up the kitchen down there. I called up the county, and they came in and they spent, I think it was about $25,000, $23,000, and they paid so that the town didn't have to pay. And they also did the gym floor, which they paid for the commissioners. And that was taken out of the trust fund. I'm disappointed. I wish that they would not do this evening. I wish we would call the commissioners in, talk to them. We can be reasonable people, and I think that should be done. You're talking about an ordinance 1969, that's before my time, okay? And for all those other years, I appointed people to the Board of Recreation. They've all been approved, no matter who's been up here, Republican or Democrat. I will try to do the same thing and get competent, capable people, whether they're coaches or not coaches. And I suggest that some people who might want to be on that board submit their names. I've been trying to get more females on the board. It's very difficult. Some people, I don't want to get involved. So anybody who wants to be involved, send me a letter. I'm taking it into consideration. I don't want to belabor this. I just think it's wrong to pass an ordinance without official dialogue and sitting down and working together. Who's at fault? Council not to want to listen. The board is embarrassed. They don't walk out. That should be beyond us now. We should get together and say, listen, what do you think it is? How we doing? And then work on it. It's getting beyond that. Call a roll, please.
Mayor, if I may, please, I'd like to, what I recollect to be something that you said that might not be exactly the case. I don't recall us actually reviewing the new hires for the summer program.
I think you're right.
Okay. And also, you mentioned that there was 2 full-timers down at the Board of Rec that retired. Actually, one of those full-timers was part-time here as well as part-time rec. So it wasn't 2 full-timers that worked at the recreation. You had a part-timer and a full-timer. So you mentioned that it was 2 full-timers that retired. That's not exactly the case.
She was full-time. We brought her back here thanks to Mr. Kazmark, and we used her part-time, and now she's down there part-time. Take $20,000.
But at the time of retirement, she was part-time rec and
take $20,000 off her salary. That brings it down to $100,000. We hired somebody for $30,000.
Just correcting something that you had said.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mayor.
Call a roll.
On roll call, council members Coletti?
No.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Martino is absent. Petagano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
No.
Caramagna?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries 3-2. By the way, I'm going to interrupt the meeting just for a moment of silence before we continue. Mr. Steve Martino's dad passed away. Left the meeting, and we've been told that he passed away. So may I have a moment of silence before I forget an important issue like that at the end of the meeting? Thank you.
Mayor, the final resolution on second reading tonight is Resolution 189-14, reintroduce ordinance 14-15 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Fix the Salaries, Wages, and Compensation of the Officers, Employees, and Servants of the Borough of Owen Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey for the year 2013, whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting on Thursday, May 15, 2014, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Owen Park that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Fix the Salaries, Wages, and Compensation of the Officers, Employees, and Servants of the Borough of Owen Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey for the year 2013 pass on final reading. We'll need a motion to open to the public, Mayor.
Would you just explain that ordinance?
This ordinance, there was a miscommunication between a previous Board of Health ordinance that was adopted and the council's ordinance that was adopted to cover our department heads and non-union employees for 2013. So we're only changing one number, and that is with regard to the deputy registrar's salary for last year. Other than that, the ordinance stays intact.
May I have a motion open to the public?
So moved.
Mr. Catamagna, second?
Second.
Mr. Boncino, any discussion? No, everyone in favor? If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard?
You're adjusting the salary table. What was the conflict between the governing body and the Board of Health?
Mr. Kaczmarek?
There was no conflict during.
Was the salary posted wrong?
No, there was a previously the Board of Health introduced and adopted the salary ordinance, okay? And the stipend that they introduced and adopted was $1,600. When it became part of the non-union department head salary ordinance, it was inadvertently put in at $1,300. So we need to just change it by $300, but it doesn't change what she's been compensated. She's been compensated all along. We just need the ordinance to agree with the salary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion on the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Mr. Dombrowski, second?
Second.
Mr. Boncino. Discussion? Call a roll.
Council members Coletti?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Martino? Is absent. Pettigano?
Yes.
Monsino?
Yes.
Catamagna?
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, moving on to the consent agenda for this evening, we have Resolution 190-14, payment of bills, Resolution 191-14, confirmation of escrow, Resolution 192-14, confirmation of payroll, Resolution 193-14, renew liquor licenses for the 2014-2015 license term, Resolution 194-14, redeem third-party tax lien for 100 Florence Place, Resolution 195-14, redeem third-party tax lien for 223 Molnar Drive, Resolution 196-14, authorize professional planning services for Qualker & Qualker LLC. Resolution 197-14, retirement compensation for Charles Canariato, retiring from the Building Department. Resolution 198-14, authorize purchase of a 2014 Police Interceptor sedan for the Police Department. Resolution 199-14, authorize the purchase of a 2014 Police Interceptor SUV for the Police Department. Resolution 200-14, authorize upgrade to the dispatch system in the Police Department. Resolution 201-14, approve bike days for the Recreation Department. Resolution 202-14, authorized to execute agreement for the use of Fairlawns Memorial Pool. Resolution 203-14, a resolution authorizing the inclusion in the Bergen County Community Development Program. Resolution 204-14, emergency water main repair for Lily Arts Lane. Resolution 205-14, emergency repair to ladder truck for the fire department. Resolution 206-14, designate representative to the Bergen County Community Development Commission for July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. And Resolution 207-14, approve temporary inspector in the building department, Brian Butch. Need a motion on the consent.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Catamagna and Mr. Boncino. Gentlemen, I have a question on Resolution R196-14. That's the approval of professional planner Qualker & Qualker. It's for $15,000, and according to the resolution, they recommend the Market Street zoning change from Market Street from Mulberry Street to Terrace. Mulberry Street's the street adjacent to the building here. Terrace Street goes all the way down to St. Leo's School. I thought we were talking about looking at a zone change 50 feet back or whatever from Walnut Street, Chestnut Street, and Church Street, just that section. I don't know why we're asking for a zone change for this building. I don't understand why we're going to do that. We're not 50 feet. We're not looking for another 50 feet. And I would recommend that that be changed and let him do the revise the zoning if you want to look at that from Walnut Street to Church Street. Because beyond that, beyond Church Street, you have Conti's and a couple other areas. They're never going to move.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
These are just suggestions that are going to be brought to us and we can tailor fit this any way we want. So hopefully that would satisfy your concerns.
Well, thank you. I understand that, but maybe if we go back and tell him, listen, we don't have to do all this part, his $10,000 fee could be reduced to something less and just deal with those two areas, because quite frankly, I remember a few years ago when there was a conversation about tearing down this building and moving it in the back and put something else. I don't think we should even go there. We're talking about tearing this building down or anything like that in a few years. I think that's going to lead us into many, many problems. So my suggestion would be to make it from Walnut Street to Church Street on the south side of Market Street. Is there any proposal to do that? Okay, I think it's wrong. I think once we start talking about moving this municipal building, you're going to have a problem we already did before. Call a roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Coletti?
Yes.
Dombrowski is
Yes.
absent. I'm sorry, Dombrowski, Martino is absent. Pettigano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
Yes.
Catamagna?
Yes.
Motion carries on
Just
the
keep in
consent
mind, when the master planner comes back, you're going to have to maybe look him in the eye and say, we don't like your plan. And that's difficult.
Mayor, under departmental reports tonight, we have the municipal court report for April 2014, library minutes for April 21st, 2014, and the recreation report for May 2014.
Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Mr. Coletti, second. Pettigano, all in favor, opposed, so ordered. Applications, American Legion Post, 147, bingo. Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Second.
Mr. Catamagna, all in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Aye.
Okay.
That concludes my portion of the agenda, Mayor.
Okay. Did we go over committee reports yet? Any committee reports?
Yeah, I just want to express my condolences to Martino's father. We're sorry to hear about that. And the only thing I have is last night, the union, I guess at the Elmo Park Education Association, had a party for a retired teacher. I was involved. We had a good time. I had a beautiful watch. They should have given it to me before. They said I'd never be late to school.
That's right, Frank.
We had a good time. My family was there. It was very nice. And thank you to those who were present. It was very nice. Thank you. I have nothing else, Mayor, for now.
Thank you. Mr. Dombrowski, any report?
Yes, Mayor, I also would like to send my condolences to Steve Martino and his family. This is a very tough time for him, and I wish them all well. Mayor, as far as the Board of Health goes, there's a gentleman by the name of Anthony McBride. He's the supervisor of the he's the supervising wildlife biologist at the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. He would like to come to our June 19th meeting and speak in the public forum in regards to our coyote situation. He would like to educate the residents. He's going to be here. He'd like to. With your approval, Mayor, he'll answer any questions that the public may have. So that is something that I'm going to be discussing with Mr. Kaczmarek to put on the agenda for the 19th. Other than that, this weekend is Community Day. We hope to see many people there. It should be a lot of fun. The weather should be nice, and the rest is progress.
Thank you. Mr. Bonsino?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Also, my condolences go out to Councilman Martino and his family in this difficult time. Directly after this meeting, the governing body is going to meet with Chief Foligno to review staffing issues on the police department and maybe look at a plan for hiring replacement officers. And tomorrow is the 70th anniversary of Operation Overlord. Operation Overlord is the Allied landings in Normandy. That was the beginning of the end of the Axis powers in World War II. Overnight, over 20,000 airborne troops landed behind enemy lines. And in the first wave alone on D-Day, 150,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy. It was an amazing feat by the Allied forces. I bring it up only because it was only 10 years ago we were celebrating the 60th anniversary. It coincided with the World War II, the opening of the World War II Memorial in Washington. but every day, our World War II veterans die, hundreds per day. And over the course of this week, saw a lot of veterans who made the trek back to Normandy, who are in their 90s now. And it's amazing, and you think of them as 18-year-old kids getting in those boats and doing that. It's just unimaginable. So tomorrow, just spend a couple of minutes thinking about what we accomplished and what we sacrificed in that war. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pedigano?
Thank you, Mayor. Saturday is Community Day, and we're hoping everybody in Elmwood Park will spend a little bit of time. There are going to be rides, there's going to be food, and a lot of friends. So please come out. Also, the spray park will be open. Also, Lou, 2 90-year-old men parachuted in to the
I saw that. Yeah.
area.
90 years old?
They were 90 years old, 2 men parachuted in.
Yep.
That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you.
Still some hope for us older guys, huh? A little bit.
Well, I wish you older guys would try that. When I get as old as you, I'm going to do it. George Bush did it. I can do it.
I'm going to pass on that one, Mayor. My heart goes out to the Martino family. Regarding the fire department, they held their annual Memorial Day service at the Firemen's Memorial on Molnar Drive. It was a splendid day. As former firemen who are no longer with us were honored for their services. And regarding the committee to discuss the ladder truck accident, we just had met prior to this meeting. Progress was made, and we are vetting some proposed recommendations to prevent this from happening again, and I will keep you all posted on that as it develops. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. In relation to Mr. Boncino's comments about D-Day, I used to teach history, and the kids, grown men now and women, still remember all the geography I taught when we talked about World War II in the Pacific and in Europe. And I wish that today's education, they would spend some time going over World War II, not to glorify it, but just to tell kids how rough it was and all the sacrifices that were made by some young people in World War II, and give them some context as to what they gave up so that we can have the freedoms that we have today. I mentioned George Bush earlier. President Bush, the first, the elder, was an 18-year-old pilot in World War II, the youngest pilot in World War II at the time, and was shot down over the island of Chichijima, just north of Iwo Jima, and was picked up by a submarine there. So, you know, our history goes back, and we have to remember history, whereas some philosopher, George Santana, said we're doomed to repeat it. Let's look at history and not come back and do the same dumb things over again. We're in a different world today, but it's still our country, and we have to keep that in mind, and we have to keep everyone here safe. I have to open it to the public. It feels like we've been here for hours. Is there any, may I have a motion to open to the public, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dombrowski, second by Mr. Boncino. All in favor, opposed? Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, come up to the microphone, give us your name and address, and give us some pleasant thoughts.
Tom Sorreo, 34 Dapp Court. I just want to start off saying that I'm a 30-year resident that lives on that street. Myself and a lot of my neighbors are starting to get the feeling that we don't belong in Elmwood Park anymore. We want to know if we were annexed by another town, or because we're not getting the services that we should be getting, okay? Today was the first day in a month that we had a street sweeper come down our street, okay? This has happened last year a lot of times. I spoke to Mr. Castiglia about it when he was here, okay? And I have to say, the week after I spoke to him, they came down. Something is amiss because we're not, I don't know if you do it every week or you're on a different schedule now. We always used to have a street sweeper come down. We don't no more. So apparently they're forgetting where Dapp Court is.
Mr. Pedigano, as liaison, will bring.
I spoke to Scott Cars about what happened to your street, and from now on, he's going to make sure.
Well, why wasn't it happening before?
Well,
And
the
it's not
past.
just this year.
No, I know. I don't know why it has happened so many times in the past, but I did tell him that you.
We will see
Yes.
if it keeps happening, because I was cleaning my circle. I live on the second circle on the street with a blower. I had tumbleweed this high, okay, in the street. We've got glass from the recyclers that broke all over the street, and it's still there, even today, because they came around, they went around the curb, and they left. But meanwhile, the street's full of all kinds of glass. All right, that's number one. Okay, we hope hopefully they show up again. Number two, the street is starting to look like the moon. We've got craters in that street that you wouldn't believe. Now I know we're never going to get repaved because we're a cul-de-sac. Okay, but I remember a couple years ago that you said that you bought a new truck for hot patch. Do we use it?
Yes.
Well, then I'm using it on that port. Now I wish you're the
I'll
liaison
speak to him
the
again on
government.
that, but there are a lot of if you go down many streets in our town, they do look like that. Unfortunately, we cannot pave every street after such a horrible winter.
I'm looking for somebody to come fill potholes. You come
Right.
in off of 54th Street, on the straight part of the block, the street is caving in. You'll lose your car in the potholes that are so big.
Can I guarantee that? I'd like to drive my car through there and lose it. Maybe I'll go out and buy a new one.
I'll come with you tomorrow, man. I'll show you right where they are.
No,
There's pieces of macadam this big up against people's curbs that are broken.
maybe there's something on the sewer. If the street is sinking, maybe there's something with the sewer.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll
Well, I
have
mean, on the circles, in front of my house, there's a huge big pothole. In the middle of the street, there's chunks of the macadam coming out.
We'll do something.
We'll have someone look at it
Last but not
tomorrow.
least, the woods, okay? I spoke to you personally a couple months ago that there was, some of my neighbors found out that there were homeless people living in the woods, okay? Setting campfires, they had campfires, okay? We had the police department come down, there's been kids in the wood setting fires. Tuesday afternoon, I came back from a doctor's appointment. My 85-year-old neighbor across the street says to me, "Tommy, I smell smoke coming out of the woods." I went in the woods, 3 kids in the woods with a lighter, setting the leaves up on fire. I chased them out. I know that the town doesn't own these woods anymore. It's a beautiful Bergen County park, okay, with trees flipped over all over the place and garbage littering in it and everything. Can we get in touch with the Bergen County Police that they can come in there and, patrol once in a while or something?
I wouldn't recommend that. You spoke to me, I called the police, they said they knew something about it, they went in there, chased people away. Bergen County's not gonna send a cop up
I
here.
understand that, but we're gonna have a catastrophe there, and there's gonna be a whole bunch of houses going on
Let me-
fire in that woods. And I'll tell you right now, we might have a terrific fire department. They're not gonna get down these small streets and put that fire out when all of those houses go.
Let me say to you that when something like that happens, if it's during the day, call the police, during the night, call the police, call me at home if it's at night.
They come. But I
Okay.
mean, the kids keep coming back, Mr. Mayor.
Well, then the police have to do something with the kids if they
That's what
catch them.
we're asking you.
Well, then we'll do that. Mr. Voncino, will you talk to Mr. Feligno, Chief Feligno?
He's hearing it firsthand.
Where is he?
He's right there. He's hearing it firsthand.
He's hearing it firsthand now.
Tuesday,
And if I know our new chief, he'll go down there personally.
I chased 2 young boys and a girl out of the woods. And this is not the first time.
It's the first time hearing of it, sir, and you're welcome to call my office anytime.
I
I'll
have-
take care of it. this is the first time.
Chief,
hearing of it.
Okay, we have
I have no problem with the police department.
If I may, I'm being cut off again.
They were right there. They were right there.
If I may, how much time we have?
No, he can't hear.
3 minutes?
I'm finished now.
Okay, good. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard? If not, I'll have a motion to close the public portion.
Mayor, we're going to need to go into executive session, whereas the Open Public Meetings Law, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss police personnel, interviews
Motion,
of potential
please.
police officer candidates.
Mr.
Minutes will be
Gilletti.
kept, and once the matter
Mr.
involving the
Boncino, all in
confidentiality
favor?
of the above no longer longer requires that
Opposed?
confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be
So ordered.
resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting.
Bonsino and Coletti made the motions, all approved. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, just keep in mind, you have any time left? Okay. This is going to be on Channel 77, Tuesday 12 noon, Thursday 4 p.m., Friday 10 a.m., or on our website. Thank you. Yes, I want you here as long as we can keep you here. Your wife said.